Hello, everyone. I'm Marty Janeski, and along with my buddy George Purdu, we are your hosts of the local sports wrap-up here on Channel 15, Wyandotte Cable, YouTube. If you watch us on YouTube, please subscribe, and you can get a hold of us at localsportswrapup@gmail.com. Today is the 7th of October. George, a lot going on. How you been in 2 weeks?
Okay, not too bad. I mean, just kind of same old as far as stuff around the school, and then all of a sudden this week, everything kind of started to explode. So
Yes, sir. Boom. Wyandotte Roosevelt at Allen Park football game canceled due to COVID-19. One of the players tested positive. A much anticipated matchup between AP and Roosevelt will not be played this year due to COVID-19 related issues. The two perennial powers were set to meet on Friday, October 9th. That would be in 2 days in Allen Park. That was going to be fun.
yeah, and they reached out to athletic director Mike Dawson for Allen Park and just basically said that the game was canceled. I do know that they are going to be playing E-Course, so they already were able to reschedule a game, so they're playing E-Course. Wyandotte, from what I've been told, is being looked at as a bye week for them, so they don't forfeit the game, but they will not probably make it up just because of playoff starting and all the other stuff going on. So obviously it's going to be really interesting to see how this plays out.
Yeah, they were 3-0. Allen Park was 2-1. It was going to be a good match. I mean, Allen Park lost to Woodhaven, I believe. Yes. And that was their first game of the year, I think. Or no, we took a tear at Woodhaven the first game.
Yeah, they won. I think the second game of the year is when Woodhaven, Allen Park beat Woodhaven. But I think that this was going to be the game that Wyandotte looked at as really the measuring stick for how well things were going to be. So, I definitely think it was going to be a big game for both schools.
Yeah, and then who's to say they're going to play next week? I mean, it's supposed to be 14 days. If you're president of the United States, it's only 3. But most people, it's 14 days.
Yeah, and they're pretty clear, and and some of the things too, because of what's been going on. Like Roosevelt was supposed to start back school next week, face to face on a hybrid schedule. That we were told today is being pushed back. So it's affecting a lot of different things as far as what's going on. And you really got to wonder, is it going to be something that are they going to be able to play next week? And right now, everything's kind of up in the air, and you hope it doesn't affect other sports too, because that could be something else. Because it's not like the kids are fully away from everybody else as well. So they talk to other teams or players. So we'll have to wait and see kind of what happens here over the next week or so.
Wear your mask, people. Wear your mask. This is my hockey mask. I have many different ones, or a scarf across the front of your face. Stop the spread, okay? It is spreading like wildfire. Cases are popping up. Even the city had 4 or 5 new cases last week when I saw posted on the city site on Facebook. That being said, though, Wyandotte went into Taylor and, they hosted Taylor?
Went into Taylor.
Taylor. And beat them 20-0 last week, which put them at 3-0. Now, I know you have first-hand knowledge of the game. You say it was a little bit sloppy.
Yeah, a little bit sloppy of a game. I mean, going into it against Taylor, I think that you don't want to say you overlook an opponent, but I definitely think that they kind of let him hang around for a while. It was 13-0 for a long time, and Jalen Pitchford did have a touchdown pass. He had 80 yards rushing the ball. Kamari Garrison recovered a fumble and took it in for a touchdown. A lot of penalties, though. I mean, just a lot of mental mistakes, similar to what we kind of saw in that Lincoln Park game from the week before when they were getting called off sides. They were going on hard counts, but just a lot of whistles. Sometimes referees like to hear their whistle being blown, and we know this firsthand. And it was one of the things where you could almost every other play expect the referee to call a penalty. That's what was happening.
I will say that as an official for many years, you're looking for outs. I was an umpire in baseball, and 42 outs is a game. You're looking for outs. You're not creating outs, but you're looking for outs. My buddies that do basketball, the game goes faster if you swallow the whistle. They'll say that. You get paid the same if the game's 2 hours or 3 hours.
Yeah.
But they're out there doing the best they can with what they have. But this whole, I agree with you 100% when it comes to the playing down to your opponent. You go in there and you think, we're going to cakewalk this one. And every kid on that 33-man roster is thinking, good, this is going to be easy. We don't have to work that hard. And just to say, out of my suicide pool, I picked the Rams over the Giants. Giants taking the ball downfield to win the game and threw a pick, right on a 4-yard line. And Giants are 0-4, okay?
Yeah.
They had no business being in that game. As Chris Berman would say, that's why they play the games.
Yeah, you hear any given Sunday. Sometimes it's any given Friday for some of these high school teams too, and you just kind of don't know what you're gonna, what's gonna happen leading up to it. And we don't get a lot of stuff, obviously, as far as like, players that playing or out, things like that. Obviously, what happened with the COVID situation, that has to be made public. But and I think that you were kind of hoping for a rebound game Wyandotte was going to have this week if they were going to be able to play. Now you kind of wonder, 2 weeks off. Who's out, who's in, how are the coaches going to adjust to that? Because right now you can't do anything. I mean, there's nothing going on.
And who's up next?
That would be homecoming against Southgate next Friday, which, here's the funny thing, too, is they were supposed to be allowing more people back in the stands next Friday. The band might have been able to come back. That was one of the big things MHSA came out with last week was, we can, up to 1,000 people, depending on your capacity. And and we hadn't been officially told yet how that was going to work, but you figure there'd be more fans allowed, but now, how's it going to play out?
Ken Brown had brought that up. Yep. We have a few other scores. New Boston Huron beat Monroe St. Mary's Catholic Central 26-7. They must be strong. Riverview 42, Carleton Airport 6. Gabriel Richard beat Napoleon. Anyone where Napoleon is?
Not around here.
That's right. Allen Park Cabrini's struggling. I'm curious how many bodies are on their team, because if we can only get 33 varsity players, what's Cabrini getting?
You kind of wonder too. I know that like Gabriel Richard and some of these other schools, they got a lot. Like, believe it or not, they got more kids in due to a lot of stuff because they were going back face to face. But numbers wise, you just don't know kind of what they have for some of their sports. But
they recruit too. The Catholic schools, don't let them fool you. They recruit.
Yeah, especially like, I don't know about football, but I know for like hockey and some of the other ones, those are pretty big. Allen Park did have a big win over Ferndale, 49-8. Woodhaven beat Southgate, shut them out 35-0. Edsel beat Lincoln Park, 26-21. Close one there of two previously winless teams. Now Edsel has their first win, and Groseal beat Flat Rock, 40-0. Summit Academy beat Detroit Leadership Academy. No idea where that's at, 19-0. And Melvindale in overtime over Romulus, 12-6.
Wow.
So
that's our wrap up of that. Do like Ken and throw it in the corner.
There we go.
The MHSAA, they made some changes to cross country and swimming, and they expanded the golf field. The girls, changes are being made in hopes to reduce the opportunity for the spread of COVID-19. The executive committee of the MHSAA, and like you just said, they're expanding. You can bring 1,000 people into the stadium. So, I don't know what the future holds. They approved a one-season switch in postseason format for both sports.
Yeah, in cross country, they're actually going to do it a little bit differently now, where they're going to have these smaller pre-regionals, where from those they're going to have 4 teams, and then 7 individuals make it out. Then they go to regionals, where there's going to be 3 teams and 7 individuals. Division 1 and 2 is going to be November the 6th for the state finals. MIS has always hosted the cross country state finals, but so they're kind of spreading everybody out, but having less people make it out of those is kind of what they're doing with some of these in cross country. So more teams with this additional pre-regional round, but you just kind of wonder how that's going to affect, because from what I'm hearing, Wyandotte's with like Saline, Bedford, some of these really good running schools for that, where you kind of think you have a chance. Now you kind of put some powerhouses together. I don't know how it's going to work out.
Yeah, like you said, it's November 7th at MIS. Teams qualifying third from regionals and all individual qualifiers will be in one section. Teams that finish first or second in the regionals will be in a second section. That's interesting.
Yeah.
Swimming had some changes too.
Yeah, swimming and diving, Lower Peninsula, they're going to kind of make things a little bit different. It's all diving will take place on Friday, November 20th. That's the Friday before Thanksgiving at 3 different sites, still to be determined. And then all the qualifying divers will compete 5 dives with the top 20 advancing to perform their 3 more dives. From that second round, the top 16 will advance to perform their 3, and then you will have your winners in that way. And then regular swimming.
The swimming events take place on Saturday, November 21st from one of the 3 sites. Only 1 heat will be run for each event, as opposed to the traditional preliminary heat followed by the finals heat. Scores from swimming and diving portions will be combined to determine the final team standings. It's pretty cut and dried right there.
It's interesting, though, with not having that preliminary and just having 1 heat in the finals because, think about that in a lot of these sports that do that, like track, where, you don't know kind of who you're fighting for lane position. I mean, it might be a little bit different for swimming, but 1 heat and that's it.
There's only 8 lanes, though. I mean, 8 lanes in swimming. So normally, right?
Yeah.
So what if you've got 10 or 12?
Right. And
the prelim, the early one, would get rid of.
Yep.
And then the best 8 would go.
And how do you know what the best 8 are now? You could have the top swimmer be in the second heat. And so it's really interesting how that would work out.
I think they'll maybe go by your times. Maybe you don't qualify if you've never had a certain time.
Right.
Even though you're the only school, you're only representing that school, you're the best swimmer in that school, but your times are so far behind others that you don't even get an opportunity.
Right.
That would be wrong.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting kind of seeing how, and I'm sure that, some schools might try to change, because again, this has changed in the last week. It could change again before everything happens, in another month or so.
Yeah, that's true. Because it is a month away.
Correct.
And then golf?
Yeah, girls golf is going back to the way that it was as far as traditional sizes because of what happened on September 25th with Executive Order 183. So they are going to go back to the limit. And then as far as regionals go,
they're going to qualify the top 3 teams, and they've been talking about the top 2. They had changed it, 2 weeks ago,
Yep.
last time you were here.
Yep.
And now the top 3 and the top 3 individuals not on those teams. But the finals format will be a 1-day 18-hole. Don't spray a couple into the pond, and all of a sudden you're a couple strokes behind the 8 ball there, and then you're done.
definitely is going to make it a little bit tougher for those kids to think that they have 2 days, like traditional, how golf has worked, with 1 day now, 18, and that's it.
And I'm not so sure it's like they're concerned about spending the night, but it's hard to just stay quarantined. With these kids all get together in a hotel, they're going to be hanging. Golf is about all I've done. I don't get out much anymore. We buy a little takeout, but we don't sit down and eat. Yeah. I don't even go anywhere. We just, my yard looks great though.
A lot of people's yard looks good. That's the one thing I'm noticing is that, you're seeing people doing more decorations and trimming the trees and doing that type of stuff than I've seen probably in a long time.
My yard's so decorated for Halloween. It looks awesome. I've got about 15 light-up plastic figures, the 3-footers. And then I've got like a blow-up dragon and a pirate ship and just some flamingos, some black flamingos, and yeah.
I'll bring my kids by because they love looking at that kind of stuff.
It'll work out for them.
Awesome.
As we were talking about swimming, Wyandotte Roosevelt went into the Huron-Taylor dual meet on the 29th, which was last Tuesday before our show, and just slapped the field. They had a 104-60 victory. For the night, Roosevelt took first in swimming in every event. And Julia Gutierrez won 2 individual events. She was on first place relay teams. She claimed the top in the 50 freestyle with a time of 27, almost 28 seconds, and she won the 100 free in 58. She must be solid.
Yeah, I've known Julia. I had her in class when she was a freshman, and she's a great kid. It's hard to believe she's a senior now because, some of these kids, you just kind of blink, and next thing you know, 3 years have passed or 2 years have passed, and they're ready, to graduate. But it's cool when you see kids, and I know you've seen this too in coaching, when kids kind of blossom, and you see that senior year when they kind of, put it all together, and then, it could be their last hurrah at participating in this sport. And it's great to go out that way, and it's nice to see a kid that's doing it at that level.
And you know what that means, when they move up from freshman to senior just like that. You just got 4 years older and you didn't even realize it.
Man, we were talking about we were talking about grades before we went on here, and I know Marty looks a little bit younger than I do, but his kids are a little bit older. Mine are 6 and younger.
I am older than you.
But I know you do look. I would say you do look a little bit younger than me in that aspect.
It's all in the hair. It comes in a bottle.
Yeah.
Don't be shy.
Yeah.
Just you live with a hairdresser. It's easy.
Yeah.
I wouldn't go to a shop and have this done.
Yeah, I'm lucky I still have some. So.
So anyway, Ms. Gutierrez had a team 200 medley with Raquel Megason, Stella Moline, and Marissa Pellin, and the 400 freestyle relay with Stella Moline again, Scotland Vaughn, and Katie Cost. So they're solid. They were solid that day. And then in the freestyle, the longer freestyles, the 200 and the 500s, Quinn Middlestat. You know that girl too?
I do not. Some of these names I recognize, but that is not one I recognize.
Those are swimming. Swimming for 2 minutes and 20 seconds and 6 minutes. That's a lot of swimming.
Yeah, and it's and hearing some of the names on here though, they got a good mix though of the younger kids and some of the older ones, and they were even able to practice at all until the restrictions on getting into the gyms was lifted. So where like football was still doing stuff in the spring or in the summer, they could do stuff outside. Swimming couldn't do anything, so that's pretty interesting.
What you were talking earlier about the tennis team?
Yeah, so tennis, they've had a solid year. I try to keep up with one of our teachers that I work with his former coach, Pat Haley, and now Joe Lozelle, one of his proteges, is coaching the boys team, and they went into a tournament, the Honor and Glory tournament last weekend, and won the championship at Carlton Airport. They had 19 points ahead of Airport, who had 14, Crestwood had 8, Riverview had 7, and they've had a pretty solid team effort this entire year, so they've done pretty well as far as that goes. The singles, Riverview won both the number 1 singles against Roosevelt, but as a team, Roosevelt was able to be successful. And I think you have something about their number 3 singles.
Yeah, the number 3 and 4 singles, they played well. Sammy Oswald won all 3 of his matches. He beat the Airport guy, the Crestwood guy, and the Riverview kid pretty convincingly. All of them were like 6'3", 6'2s. Yeah, and the Riverview boy, he beat 6'2", 6'1". And then our number 4 singles, Emmett Oswald, he won the Riverview against Brent 6'2", 6'0". He beat Crestwood's kid 6'1", 6'3", and then the Airport kid, he shut him out 6'0", 6'0". They're solid. I mean, let's face it, they have some depth.
Yeah, and in their doubles, Roosevelt actually won all of its matches in the 1, 2, and 3, 4 doubles. Number 1 doubles, team of Jason Johnson, Cole Bobian, defeated Airport's Carlos Mendoza, Jacob Van Burskirk, 6'4", 4'6", 6'4", and Riverview's Nick Anton and Ari Garajanis, and Crestwood's Josh Bain and Mo Harp. So great job for the doubles.
And the number 2 doubles, Luke Bobium and Jason Kapari, they beat Crestwood's team. The number 3 doubles, Aiden Kuzma, Colton Wynn, they beat Riverview and Airport. They swept. And Alex Moon and Jack Vaduva, again, swept all 3 of their matches. So even though the top 2 guys didn't win their singles match, they had plenty of points.
Yeah.
And depth helps.
And that's when you look at the team aspect of it. As far as the team points go, they got the 19 points. They were able to win it. And then just breaking news about an hour and a half ago, they had regional stays, so there were no leagues for tennis. So that's one difference compared to previous years. They would have leagues for tennis. They did not have that. They had regionals, which Wyandotte hosted. They beat Lincoln Park in their first matchup. And then Mr. Haley actually sent me a text that they won the regional. So they are going as a team to team states next week. They won 5-3 over Trenton, which Trenton has always been a huge matchup for them as far as tennis, I think both in boys and girls. And Allen Park kind of mixed in too. So they're going to be going, I believe it's in Midland next week. So hopefully, we'll find out how they do, and it might be around the same time. So, we'll see if we can get that on for next week.
Yeah, text me the information.
Absolutely.
He's got all the inside connections since he's in the school building all day long. And depth. We talk about depth. Your bowling teams, your whatever else, like my hockey teams and everything else that I've coached. it's nice when you're figuring out which 5 of the 7 to play in bowling, and not that it's handed to you that you know what 5 you're going to play.
Right.
Then you have to start coaching. It's real easy when you got 5 studs and nothing else.
Yeah.
But when you have to start making decisions, and I probably made a few wrong ones this season, but it all happens.
Yeah, and you had the luxury of this past year. You had from top. You could bring a kid up from JV and plug them into a spot on varsity, and they weren't going to be that much of a drop off since some of the girls that you had there. And we were kind of talking a little bit before we came on the air, and I know it's been on the back of our minds for the last couple of weeks. Is they're starting to talk about some of these winter sports. Now that we're kind of getting into these sports, finishing up here in the next month, what's going to happen with bowling? What's going to happen with wrestling? What's going to happen with basketball?
Wrestling.
How are these sports going to be in the winter, where you're seeing now these outbreaks starting to happen with football? That's where I guess my curiosity is going to be, how does the MHSAA handle? And they've started to talk about it a little bit. Like, I'm hearing some things, but I don't know. I'm not sure what they're going to do.
They're my own opinion here. They're flying by the seat of their pants, which they have to do. Excuse me. They don't know what's happening from day to day. I mean, the cases are going up in the state. Cases are going up in the country. It's spreading. Now, is it as poisonous and deadly as it was? Me personally, I think it's been mutating. I think it's a strain. Every year the flu is a little different. This is another virus. It's going to mutate. It's not going to stay the same. Those are organisms. They're alive. They're going to mutate. I'm no doctor, okay? I stayed at a Holiday Inn once, but yeah. So I just feel it's mutating a little, and plus they know how to treat it better. They shoot you full of steroids now when you go into the hospital, and right away, because they found that helps. And that's what they would treat you for when you would get really sick. They'd give you that Z-Pack. Well, what do you think that Z-Pack is? It's steroids.
Right.
And they pump you full of them, and you get better. Your body fights it better. So they got to fly by the seat of their pants just to make decisions. Basketball, they're going to have to wear their mask. There's no way around that. How we're going to bowl, we're all going to have our mask on, I guarantee, because you're going to have to. There's just no way around it.
Right.
In wrestling, I just don't know how.
Yeah, they're starting to. I coach with Brett Green. We coach cross country together, and he's the head wrestling coach for Wyandotte. And he's hearing that only Saturday meets, no tournaments, and their bread and butter to get kids out there has been tournaments on Saturdays. That's how they get all the kids. Now they're talking about maybe they'll wrestle another school. It's going to be where it's on a Saturday. With just them against somebody else. He said it's going to kill their JV teams, because now these other kids, these young kids, are not going to be able to have a chance for a match. So, and we talked about bowling. I mean, bowling, you get all those schools in there. You get all 9 downriver schools, boys, girls, JV, into one house with all those parents. It's going to be now. It's the same thing. Is it going to be school against school?
Think about states, let alone the actual two meets we have a week, where there's nowhere to get. You can't even walk through the bowling center.
Right.
And I think about states, they put bleachers in Thunderball.
Yep.
And they're packed. Okay, everybody has to come see you bowl.
Right.
It's going to be interesting. I hope, let's stay positive. I hope the thing whittles off and dies, but it won't.
Yeah.
It's going to spread. Now, if it's not as serious as it was, and you just get a little sick, that's good.
Right.
But we don't know.
Yeah.
You don't know. I don't know. I'm I stayed at a Holiday Inn once. I'm no doctor. They had the football rankings set out, and before Wyandotte got shut down this week, they were ranked number 7 in Division II football. They're behind some powerhouses: Midland, Livonia Churchill, Fenton. They're just ahead of Fenton. But just amazing. You start out 3-0 in league. They're in first place, obviously, in the league.
Right.
So they're going to be the highest ranked team in the league.
Yeah, there's some other schools too. Division III, River Rouge, who's the defending D3 state champion. They are 1-1, but they're playing now some really hard schools. They're going against Country Day and some of these other schools that because now, hey, if you win it, teams want to play you.
Yes.
So Riverview, surprisingly, they're number 10, 3-0 to start the season. And then you got Huron and Carlson getting some votes as well. So and Wyandotte would still have Carlson on the schedule. Last game of the season is home against Carlson. Carlson doesn't play, though, Allen Park or Woodhaven this year. So they could be undefeated coming into that last game, and that could be a test for them. But, we'll kind of wait and see how the next couple of weeks play out as far as what happens with that.
So we're getting close to wrapping up. Red Wings, how about them Lions? Let's start there. We're talking football. How about them Lions? Man, oh man, they can't stop anybody, and that coach is supposed to be some defensive guru.
Yeah, and you think it's like so my team. So of course, because of all the stuff happened with the Steelers, they didn't play this week. So I'm like, oh, I'm gonna watch the Lions game. Hey, 14-0 in the first 5 minutes. I'm texting everybody, oh, look at how great the Lions are playing. And then all of a sudden somebody's like, yeah, it's going to be 35-14 before halftime. And it was close. But it was like all of a sudden, as fast as they can score the points, they can give it right back up.
It's amazing. I quit. I had the TV on upstairs and TV on in the basement. I was cleaning the front porch. We have an enclosed porch. And I was making room in the basement for a bunch of stuff. And so I was listening to it, but it was just incredible how that goes down. Now, the Red Wings, last worst place in hockey, worst team, had a draft. The first pick, their 4th pick overall, they picked a kid from Sweden. He doesn't have a lot of points, though. It's funny. The kid only scored about 5 goals in 30 games. It's weird.
Yeah.
But they like him.
Yeah, and it was a little surprise, I think, from what people thought the Red Wings were going to do, but, I have to say this. I mean, maybe they're not my number one team, but I trust Steve Yzerman. And I think, you saw his fingerprints are all over Tampa Bay winning the Stanley Cup.
Yes.
I mean, you can't take that away from, he just left there a couple years ago. So a lot of those players are still guys he brought in. And you got to think that he's going to eventually, getting, Abdelkader's contract and eating that and finally realizing that, keeping him,
brilliant move.
And they'll eat the money, but he wasn't. Not bringing back Jimmy Howard, who I didn't realize was 36. Like I didn't realize. I didn't realize Jimmy Howard was that old.
They're younger, stronger, and faster. Yeah. End of story. Get a hold of us, local sports wrap up at gmail.com. On YouTube, they picked a Russian goalie in their 4th pick overall. Can't go wrong with a Russian goalie. That's all I got to say. And Eddie Van Halen passed away this week. I grew up on Van Halen music. I'm a big rock dog. I love that stuff. You got that phone ready? We can go out with that music as we wrap up. I am Marty Janeski and my good buddy George Purdu here. Next week will be Ken Brown's turn. And it'll be Ken Brown's turn to sit in. And all I want to say is get a hold of us. Watch us on YouTube, Channel 15, Wyandotte. I'm a Sammy guy. You a Sammy guy?
I'm a Sammy guy.
What about, the 3rd singer?
Yeah, it was Sharon, whatever the
Gary
guy.
Sharon from the band Extreme.
Yep.
There's a trivia question for everybody. So we'll see you next week. George will see you in 2 weeks. I'm Marty Janeski, George Purdu. Thanks for watching. I'll let it play. Should let it play out.
I'm sorry.